You know that person who just disappears when they're hurting? Not physically. They're still here, still sitting at the same table, still answering messages, still saying, "I'm fine." But something inside them has already closed, quietly, without warning, like someone turned off the sound. Maybe that person is you. Maybe you're watching this video at 2 in the morning because, once again, you can't explain to anyone that there's a whole storm inside, while everything on the outside looks completely still. If that's you, stay with me. Because today I'm going to tell you something nobody has ever bothered to explain. Your silence is not the problem. It's a response. And science backs that up. A few months ago, a man left a comment under a video like this one. He was 67 years old. He wrote 7 words. For the first time, someone understood me at 67. Not a teenager still figuring out who they are. Not someone new to love and loss. A man who had lived through decades, who had loved, lost, argued, made up, and everything in between, and had never once felt like his way of experiencing pain was normal. Like he was a person, not a broken version of one. That's why I'm making this video today. Because if someone can spend 67 years feeling like something is wrong with them, we need to have this conversation properly. Not the surface level stuff. Not just open up. The real thing. So let's start with the moment you go quiet. Someone says something that hurts. Or they don't say anything. They just do something. Or maybe it's the 37th small thing in a row, and that last one quietly broke something open inside you. And here's what happens next. You freeze. Not because you have nothing to say, not because you're being manipulative, but because something inside you just closes, like a door you didn't mean to shut. The words that were right there a second ago suddenly feel far away. Your chest gets heavy. And the idea of opening your mouth and trying to explain something you haven't fully processed yourself feels genuinely impossible. And then the other person looks at you and says, "Why won't you just talk to me?" And that question lands like an accusation. Here's what you need to know. Neuroscience has an answer for this. When emotional pain crosses a certain threshold, the part of your brain responsible for producing language, Broca's area, becomes noticeably less active. This isn't a metaphor. It's a neurological event. Your brain, flooded with pain, literally redirects its resources away from speech towards something it considers more urgent, keeping you together. You are not choosing silence. Silence is choosing you. And there's something else, the freeze response. Everyone knows fight or flight, the 2 dramatic options your nervous system offers under threat. But there's a third one, just as ancient, just as hardwired, and far less understood, freeze. When neither fighting nor fleeing feels safe or possible, the nervous system goes still. That's not passivity. That's protection. But here's the question that actually changes everything. Why do you respond this way? Nobody is born going quiet in pain. Babies scream. 2-year-olds drop to the floor in the middle of a grocery store and cry without a single thought about whether it's appropriate. Children express pain openly, loudly, and without apology, until something teaches them not to. Something taught you too. Maybe it was a home where emotions were treated like inconveniences, where you cried and got told to stop being so sensitive, where other people's moods set the temperature of every room, and your job was not to add to it. Maybe it was one specific moment. You opened up to someone completely, and they minimized it, or laughed, or used it against you later, brought it up in an argument like ammunition. Psychologist John Bowlby spent his career on one idea. The way we learn to handle emotional pain comes directly from our earliest relationships. And what he kept finding, over and over, was that when those early relationships taught us that vulnerability leads to even more pain, the nervous system doesn't just take note, it makes a rule that gets applied to every relationship that follows, sometimes for decades. The rule isn't conscious. You don't think it, you feel it. It lives in your body, and it sounds something like, "If I show you I'm hurting, something worse will happen." So the silence isn't a choice you're making right now. It's a decision your younger self made a long time ago, under circumstances that gave them no better option. And it was brilliant. It protected you. Your silence is not a character flaw. It's a survival skill your younger self built to keep you safe. And it worked. It got you here. Now here's the part that might genuinely surprise you. While on the outside everything looks still, your brain is busier than ever. Researchers studying brain activity in people who go quiet under stress found that the regions tied to self-reflection, long-term memory, and simulating future outcomes are significantly more active than in people who immediately express everything out loud. In other words, still water is doing serious work underground. What's actually moving through that silence sounds something like this. Did I contribute to this? Have I felt this before? What is this situation actually about beneath the surface? What do I want from this? If I say something right now, will it be the truth, or will it just be the loudest thing I feel in this second? That last question is the one that keeps the silence going longest, because people who go quiet when hurt often know very well what lies at the bottom of that silence. They know that if they open their mouth at the wrong moment, what comes out won't be a conversation. It'll be wreckage. One comment under a video like this read, "I have never regretted staying quiet, but I've regretted plenty of things I said in the heat of the moment." That's not avoidance. That's someone who made a long calculation. The relationship, their own integrity, the other person's feelings, all of it matters more than the temporary relief of letting everything out. And there's one more thing almost nobody notices. Part of your silence is protecting the people you love. You go quiet because you know yourself. You know what lives at the bottom of that pain. And you know that if you open your mouth before you've processed it, what comes out won't be something you can take back. There's a concept in psychology called the window of tolerance. It's the zone in which real communication is actually possible. Outside of it, you're either completely shut down or completely flooded. Real conversation only happens inside that window. You already knew this intuitively. You just didn't have a name for it. And here's the most painful irony of all. The one thing that would actually help you open up is almost always the exact opposite of what you get. You get pressure. You get pursuit. You can't just shut down. This is so unfair. Just talk to me. And every single one of those pushes confirms the oldest belief you carry, that your way of processing isn't valid. That your emotions are only acceptable when they arrive on someone else's schedule, in someone else's preferred format. What you actually need is the hardest thing to ask for, patience without a deadline. Not take your time, but hurry up. Actual patience. Someone who can sit in the discomfort of your silence and trust that you'll come back. Research on this is consistent. When people who process emotions inwardly feel genuinely free of pressure, they open up far more honestly, and with far greater depth than they ever would under force. The silence gets shorter when nobody's fighting it. And this is worth saying out loud. When the words finally come, they're different. You've turned them over hundreds of times before they leave your mouth. Checked them for accuracy, for fairness, for truth. You don't say things you don't mean. You don't throw accusations in the heat of the moment just to win. When you finally say, "That hurt me," it means everything. In a world where people say everything immediately and mean maybe half of it, you say less and mean all of it. That's not emotional unavailability. That's emotional integrity. And the difference is enormous. So here's the summary. You go quiet when you're hurting because your nervous system is protecting you. Because you learned early that vulnerability has a price, because your brain processes pain with a depth that most people never reach, and because part of you is always quietly protecting the people you love, even from yourself. You are not cold. You are not manipulative. You are not broken. You are someone who feels things deeply and completely and takes the time to understand them before speaking. And if you're here, if you've stayed all the way to this moment, that already means something inside you wants to be heard. Here's your question for today, and I genuinely want to hear your answer. not just as a content prompt. If you go quiet when you're hurting, what is the one thing you wish the people around you actually understood about that silence? Write it in the comments. Because that 67-year-old man spent 6 decades feeling unseen. And one comment section helped him feel understood for the first time. What you write down there might do the exact same thing for someone else watching this video right now. If this video gave you words for something you've been carrying for a long time, hit like. It helps this video reach the people who need it, the ones searching for answers at 2 in the morning, just like you were. And so you don't miss the next episode about why the strongest people are often the ones hiding the most. Subscribe to the channel. See you next time.